Ladies and gentlemen, it's 2021. It's a whole new year. We're feeling fresh. We're feeling new. So far, 2021. We're 2 days in. Feels monstrously different than 2020. Yes. There is just hope that's floating, which would be a great name for a movie. And there's hope floating in the air. There is joy resounding. Our political issues have gone away. The vaccine is on the horizon. The coronavirus. We scoff at the coronavirus now. We don't really.
I feel like a pessimist because I just didn't notice any of that in these last 2 days.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, Ohio State won, so I guess maybe that colors everything for me. That the Buckeyes, the maligned Buckeyes, pulled off a shocker and upset the Jesus-looking
is that what you texted
Lawrence.
last night? What did you text?
Yeah, you guys were awful. I start getting texts about is Clemson a football team or a skin disease? I have all these artist tech friends who don't know sports for jack, and then when they try to talk crap, it doesn't go well for them. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, Tim, welcome to 2021.
Oh, thank you.
It is great to see you.
Oh.
And let's start by saying some thank yous. Let's start the year with appreciating some folks. We have a remarkable crew of people who support the podcast.
Yes.
And it's just awesome. It really is. And I love it. And so I want to welcome and thank Dawn and Ryan and John and Rob and Cindy for coming on board since the last episode to Patreon. Patreon is a community where you can support art or podcasts or songs or whatever. And there are different sort of incentives and levels. And if you want to check that out, patreon.com, and then look up the Vox podcast with Mike Erie. You can probably look up Tim Stafford, but I don't know where that's going to take you exactly.
That's
I make no
dangerous.
promises. We got a request on the name change. It's here. We have a new name. It has been chosen and celebrated. We are now looking at colors and branding options because we're fancy like that. So that hopefully will be coming. I know many of you are breathlessly waiting. The thing you are most looking forward to in 2021 is what in the world.
As that ball dropped, everyone was just like, I just gotta know.
I gotta know. So we're excited. And then
did you guys watch any of the countdown, like the televised ball drop thing this year?
No, we didn't. Was it totally depressing?
It was just really, it ended really fun. There was like no one there. It was in Times Square. Anderson Cooper and what's the other guy's name? Andy Cohen were hosting it. But then after the ball dropped, Anderson Cooper was pretty inebriated and Snoop showed up and they started having a conversation about everywhere that Snoop's gotten high.
Oh my goodness.
Andy Cohen was like grilling Snoop on it and Snoop was laughing, but Anderson Cooper was like giggling and like falling off the stage giggling. It felt appropriate. I don't know.
All right. I had just read about the train wreck that was Cyndi Lauper evidently performed, and it didn't go well. I have not seen this.
Oh, I'm gonna look
and
it
then
up.
Vanilla Ice was performing.
I saw that.
And so it's, I mean,
At Trump's Mar-a-Lago or whatever.
What a way to usher out the year. So
2021. Who are the big artists so far? Cyndi Lauper.
Yes,
and
Vanilla Ice. Yes, absolutely. And why not? So
Why not?
No, I did not watch. We've been on a Harry Potter movie marathon.
Ooh.
And so there were some Deathly Hallows that were being pursued and some Horcruxes being destroyed.
Yeah.
So just look out, world. Voldemort is now in trouble. But
Darth
Timothy,
Voldemort.
the tech wizard that Timothy John Stafford is, discovered that the podcast is listened to around the world. And we know that because we get emails from people who drop in to say hello from wherever, and it's super cool. But evidently we're in 50 countries, Tim, is that right? 50?
Yeah, or it only lists the top 50, so.
Oh, they only list the top 50.
As far as I can tell.
So number 1 is
the good old United States of America.
That's right. And number 50 is...
Oh, number 50. I'm just going to pull it up right now and check it. We're still on all-time. Whatever.
Yeah. I thought we were doing
Ecuador.
Ecuador.
Ecuador is number 50.
Yes. If you are in Ecuador today, hello. Thank you for listening. But it is kind of fun to realize that through the magic of the interwebs, people are able to tune in. So thank you for all of that. Just so much fun to do this. We're in our 6th year of doing this. I started
last week. The number 50 was Tanzania.
Oh man, those are both epic 50s. Yeah. I don't know. If I had to pick, I'm going Tanzania.
There's a pocket of people though in Australia. I'm just curious. You guys should email us. I'm always curious how people find podcasts and if any of that pocket is more than one person listening to it together, or
yes, they may have typed in non-skinny jean wearing, non-expensive tennis shoe having,
because that's how I hashtag everything.
Cool hair wearing,
no preacher sneakers.
Yes. So anyway, I think that's awesome. Anyway, enough of our nonsense. Today, ladies and gentlemen, Tim is angry, and Tim. So Tim doesn't get angry often, but when he does, it's really angry. And
stomping.
So today, I just wanted to revisit a little bit of Tim's. I wish we had a cool name for this segment. Tim's Troubled Times.
Tim's Troubled Times.
This was very troubling.
TTT.
Yes,
that's pretty good.
Tim, what's got you riled up?
Well, I got angry. I've been angry about this for a while, but I don't want to. I just feel like sometimes you should let things lie and don't, just let it go away. But this guy just won't go away. And I believe it's pronounced Feucht, Sean Feucht, the guy that's been running around the country leading large worship services during COVID, protesting lockdown and kind of the church's freedoms being taken away, being told we can't worship because there is a pandemic killing hundreds of thousands of people. But he returned to Los Angeles this last couple days and was doing a thing with down on Skid Row, and there were some videos of people casting out demons from homeless people that I was watching online, and then he did a huge worship event on New Year's Eve. Thousands of people coming out and no masks on, singing, which I think was number 1 on the list for spreading activities. Singing projects more air and more whatever out of your
particles
mouth than anything else.
Yes.
And I just it makes me so the witness that this is, and I feel like we should at least just say that we don't think this is a very good idea. I'm trying to word this nicely. I don't want to sound I don't want to sound condescending, and I want to be respectful and conversational on these topics. I know I realize that that's kind of the same thing as saying no offense before you say something, so that's not lost on me. I know folks who have attended these, friends, but I feel at the same time you got to call a spade from time to time. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the witness is terrible, and when you talk to non-Christians or my non-Christian friends start talking about the church during the pandemic, this is one of the biggest witnesses because it's very televised, it's very talked about, it's very big, and so there's like Christians are such selfish people.
Yeah,
they have to get together and they have to do this thing regardless of the, the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is interesting. I wrestle often with how and when do you call crap out, because
Yes.
it's literally all we could spend our time doing, versus constructively building something or some ratio between the two. I literally don't know. I don't know. I mean, you have examples in the Bible of Christians confronting each other over issues. Paul and Peter being the most famous. When Paul decides to put that in one of his letters that gets canonized, like, I had to call Peter out.
Always Peter.
So, and then social media, it just focuses on the worst of every group and every tribe. And so I think there are a couple of things in here I think are interesting to explore. One is, okay, well, when do you name names and go, this is just ridiculous? And my response in part is, would there have to be some occasions for that, right? Or
I would assume so.
For the sake of witness. Because one of the things we hear from people a lot is, regardless of whether or not you agree with whatever it is we're doing, it's helpful to know that you're not alone in asking the big questions.
Right.
And so there's something about the solidarity of looking around going, hey, are we crazy to think this is so ridiculous? And the answer is no. Actually, there's a whole bunch of us who think this is dumb on so many levels. So I think there's value there to let people know.
I'm always curious about the conversation, because I avoid Facebook conversations like the plague.
Why? They're so helpful.
Yeah. And because of that, exactly. Like it polarizes even more, pushes. And so within church conversations, it really pushes people further into two Christian camps. You know, you can see the church, you can literally watch the church fracturing during this, especially this last couple of years, like really picking their sides of the things. And somebody posted about going to the event a couple months ago, and I just was so upset. And they were talking about, you know, like, it's just this is how we have to worship. And I was like, that's not what worship means. Like, the whole thing just kind of threw me off a little bit. And then I was going to respond to them, because someone told me, like, you should go respond and just start a conversation so that people know that this is what you think. Like, it's, even if it's in conversation form, it's still kind of calling out the whatever. But I was like, no, I'm just going to let people keep doing what they're doing. And I'd love to have him on the podcast if anyone knows him.
Sure.
I went to college in Reading. I went to college, and Bethel was just a small church at that point. I had no idea it had ballooned into the gigantic machine it is now.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's just categorize briefly why we might have a problem. So we'll start with Tim's anger, and then we'll broaden it to why is this dumb? And if we sound condescending, well, okay. Sometimes we get critiqued for, like, having strong opinions, and we want to be a place where people can disagree civilly, and so we always want to embody that. But I don't know. I think there are some things where you're like, that's really foolish, and I'm
always trying to do the spec and plank too. Like, I don't want to just be like you.
Yeah.
Without looking at me first.
Well, we've established our idiocy. It just, I don't think anyone. If
there's any doubt, there's 276 episodes you can listen to prior to this one.
Totally. So yes. But let's just talk about generically then. Let's use him as an example of a kind of posture towards the world that we would have questions about. Yeah. So first of all, Tim, what you brought up is concern about how this appears to those who are outside the kingdom. And obviously Paul spends a lot of time instructing his churches to care and how to care about what the culture thinks of the Christian message. And so this is a legitimate concern, and it doesn't drive everything, right? Because Of course, we believe some crazy stuff and people are going to think we're crazy. But the goal is to be thought crazy for the right things, not dumb things. And, the idea that there are Christian nonprofits, secular nonprofits who are banding together to protect the homeless from non-mask wearing people who want to shout, pray, and sing over them. I don't know. Seems like that's an issue.
Yeah.
So in terms of like representing Jesus well, I think maybe we don't get a pass on that. Theologically, it's horrific. It is absolutely horrific. The assumptions that unless we can worship by singing in a large gathering in a church, if we can't do that, then we're being persecuted, is the most American, individualistic, consumeristic, stupid piece of theology in the history of the planet. The churches around the world who cannot gather in big $1 million buildings with air conditioning and children's ministry are not feeling that the American church is persecuted because we can't gather for an hour a week in our multi-million-dollar facilities. Give me a freaking break. It is wrong about theology. It's wrong about worship. It's wrong about church. It's wrong about persecution. It is absolutely, we're being inconvenienced and forced to have to consider the needs of our neighbor. And our response to this is, F you guys, we serve God rather than human beings. As if wearing masks and not meeting in order to protect the most vulnerable people, we're bowing down to Caesar. Give me a freaking break. It's just utterly disgusting. It's so anti-Jesus, I can hardly stand it. And yes, is this condescending? Yes. Tim was the one angry, but I'm angry now.
Yeah, it's hard not to. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and this victimization thing that we've got going, right?
Yeah,
they're different.
You really can't tie. Just can't separate loving the Lord and loving your neighbor.
You cannot.
But we are trying really hard. And the other thing, I've seen a few pastors during this time period, not on the worship being outside conversation, but just during COVID, as numbers spike and then go down and spike and. Like our pastor here in town came online, was just like, hey guys, we're putting some energy into loving our neighbors. We're not going to be meeting in the church, et cetera, et cetera. And guess what? Worship doesn't need a church building. He was like, we're still going to worship. We are still going to be worshiping, but we're going to be doing it from home. We don't need. And then I just sat there and I was just like, what does worship mean? Right. It means ascribing worth, right? Isn't that the definition of worship? Ascribing worth to something.
Yep.
So if we're got our, unmentionables all tied up in a knot over not being able to worship, it seems like the worth is being ascribed to something other than.
Well, yeah. My goodness, it's just so shallow to think that unless we can sing our nice songs to Jesus and have a pep rally for Christ, that somehow we're being persecuted and can't worship. I mean, what a load of nonsense. What a load of nonsense. I just can hardly stand it. Never mind the fact that you're raising tons of money to do these things. You're defying civil authorities when that crowd precisely wants to quote Romans 13 about obeying civil authorities when it comes to immigration or other issues.
Right.
And we're doing it because no one can take our right to worship. Well, that's true. You can worship in a jail cell. We got loads of examples of that. So give me a break. Until we're being imprisoned for the name of Jesus and put to death, we're not being persecuted. And that, I mean, how many, and there are records. I've got at least 6 articles of instances where church services or choir gatherings led directly to the deaths of people.
Yes.
And why it is that that's not enough, it is so selfish. There is a Jewish principle derived from Torah. That's all over Torah. It's called the preservation of life, pikuach nefesh, and it's an obligation for all Jews that to save a life is the most important thing you can do. Literally, a quote from the Mishnah. I don't know if we've talked about it here, but a quote from the Mishnah is like, to save a life is to save the world, according to the scriptures. And if we believe that and this is what's driving me crazy. Okay, great, let's fight for the unborn. But my goodness, why would you risk infecting homeless people for this? Right? And I'm all for proper civil disobedience. I mean, seriously, I may it be that if ever we were called upon to renounce the lordship of Jesus, that we would say, you know what? We're not budging on that sucker. Yeah. But to insist in a way that is completely unwelcome, even by other Christians, that we have to go and do this, it violates the very heart of Torah, right? Which is the preservation of life.
Yeah, which has been one of the things that's continually burned me through this, is how we rationalize death numbers.
Oh, totally.
It's like it's only this percentage of the population or whatever. Yeah. And then when I see the church starting to do that, I'm just like, those are individual lives. Yeah. And you got to, I don't know.
And yes, of course, everything's being politicized. So of course, one group's going to overplay the numbers and work to destabilize current efforts to combat the virus, and another group's going to downplay the seriousness of the thing. I got it. It's all politicized. I got it. But as for me and my house, it's really, really simple. We preserve life at all costs. I mean, it really is that simple. Yeah. And you can't, the fact that these are nursing homes full of people who are dying, because we should be fighting for their lives as much as we're fighting for death row inmates or the lives of the unborn, right? I mean, it's just incredible to me. And again, I will go back after this podcast and wrestle with, was I too harsh and whatever. But I don't know, man. Sometimes I think, well, we're not harsh enough.
Yeah.
Because
this is a conversation, just so the people know, this is a conversation that we have often. Yes. After we've been called out a couple times for being condescending on issues. And then, both of us suffer from anxiety, but I'll only speak for myself. When I get called out on something, I roll around in it for a while, trying to figure out exactly, was it that? Did I do this? Did I do that? Etc. Right. However, I do, and I will wrestle on the other side. Like, some things need to be just called out. But if people listen to this and you either really appreciate what this gentleman is doing with his worship services, or you have someone in your life that you would want to listen to people talk about why this is not okay, I want it to sound like something that we're really struggling against and trying to uncork. Or I don't know. I want people to be able to listen to it and not be like, those two ding-dongs. Yeah. Think they know everything.
Yes. The knock we get sometimes, and Tim, it's way less you, dorkwad.
I brought all this up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The knock we get is, like with the QAnon episode we did with Sky, we got a significant, for us, amount of pushback that was like, dude, I'd love to share this with people. Right. But you're going to alienate them because, you think their view is nonsense. And so, we do wrestle with that. And even calling this out, Tim is totally willing, as we're, texting with a group and we're just like, this is insane. It's like, I don't even know if we should talk about this. But I'm like, I don't know, man. I think it's showing. I don't know his motives. I mean, I have questions about the money and the performing bit of this and but those are all true of me too. So, the bigger issue for me is why we've allowed what really should be a simple thing to be politicized, and that is to preserve our neighbor's life at all costs, even at the expense of our own. You know, I mean, the earliest Christians, one of the witnesses of the earliest Christians was rushing into pandemics to care for the sick. I think we have a letter from a Roman emperor, I think it's 3rd or 4th century, who was complaining to the high priest of Rome that the Christians take better care of their poor than they do. And here, this does not look like care for anybody. It looks like claiming our rights, fighting for our liberties at the expense of other people, which is exactly the opposite of what it was that Jesus modeled and Paul called us to.
Yeah.
And so, I do think this was a good reason to talk about this, because I mean, it's like my kids, they're not gonna, Lord willing, I mean, although I just read of a teenager who went on, a ventilator, which is awesome. My kids are not likely gonna get this, and if they do, it's not gonna be serious. But I still insist that they wear masks. Why? Because we have a grandma, and we've got a Seth, and we've got, this is just a fundamental part of life. We care about each other. And don't insist on our rights if it comes at the expense or harm of another. And that is so fundamentally Christian. And what he's doing is so fundamentally not. And that's the issue.
There's your invitation to come on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, and then I was reading about, some of the Trump stuff. God anointed Trump for 8 years, not 4. And, and it's just, it's so, I mean, we could literally spend all of our time fighting against this, but there are good, like genuinely good people who believe this.
Yes.
And I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I really don't. It's blasphemous in some quarters. It just is. How do you disciple people away from this? I don't know. So anyhow, there is that. We are going to turn our attention back to the Sermon on the Mount, my friend.
Yeah.
And let's talk about money. Let's do it. Why the heck not? Jesus, I mean, as Jesus is rummaging through the human soul, and he's demonstrating the righteousness of his kingdom over against the righteousness of human religious tradition and systems embodied by the Pharisees. And as he's critiquing this temptation we have to perform religious acts and to get by with just the minimum of what it is that God asks us. Well, I'm not murdering, so it must mean I'm loving our neighbor. I'm not committing adultery, or I'm not having sex with another person, so I'm not committing adultery. And Jesus is like, he's rummaging through the human soul going, okay, well, let's talk about lust, and let's talk about integrity, and let's talk about anger, and and let's talk about money. And so the way Jesus talks about money is way different than how the church talks about money. And you have to start there. That how Jesus speaks of money is so different than how the church talks about money. And we've, even last episode, we were talking about why we have hope for the church and why would we even consider giving money to the church.
Right.
So we're going to set that part aside. We realize there's been immense harm and manipulation done over these verses. I mean, immense. And yet we're still kind of here going, well, Jesus still has stuff to say, and it's really hard stuff for us to hear. And it's that which makes it all the more important we pay attention to it. So today, my friend, we have the voice of an angel.
That's right.
His name is PC, right?
Yeah, PC Ward.
PC Ward is going to read our text from Matthew 6. Here we go.
What's up, y'all? My name is PC Ward, coming at you from Lake Jackson, Texas, reading Matthew 6:19 through 24. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money.
The voice of a Southern angel, ladies and gentlemen, right there. So this is a text that if you've been in church or around, Christian circles, odds are you've heard stuff along these lines. And we could spend weeks on it. Quite honestly, there's so much here, but I want to go through it a little bit. And then there's a statement in Luke that kind of summarizes this in a really punchy way that I want to explore and then come back to Matthew. All right. So I want to go through the Matthew text quickly, go to the punchy Luke statement, explore that, and then come back to the Matthew statement. All right. So
got it.
When you read about treasures on earth and heaven, we always have to start off with what is earth and what is heaven. Heaven and earth are realms of authority. They overlap. The story of the Bible begins with them overlapping quite dramatically, right? That God created the heavens and the earth, and that God fashions the earth, at least the land, in the first 7 days to become a place where he rests as a king would rest in his temple. He fashions these creatures who, unlike the other ancient Near Eastern stories, are given a great deal of dignity. They're not created to be slaves. They're created to be co-rulers and to expand the borders of this temple garden throughout the rest of the created world. It's an epic, epic story. And then there is a sundering of that as the humans choose their own authority, their own independence, and they yield their right to the garden through choices of autonomy and independence. And then the earth becomes the place, as Jesus will say, heaven is the place where God's will is done. Earth is the place where other wills are done. And so heaven isn't up there. Heaven is all around us. In Hebrew, the word heaven just means the stuff that's invisible all around us, and the earth just means the land. But as this gets fleshed out a little bit, heaven and earth become realms of different kinds of authority. And so treasures in heaven aren't streets of gold and crowns. Treasures in heaven it's a Jewish way of saying you value the things that God values. Treasures on earth, that's a way of saying you value the things that the earth values. All right? So you're not storing up in the sense of like there's this big bank account and you'll get your diamonds and rubies and crowns, when you show up. It's no. It's what are you valuing? It's the worship conversation, right? You're declaring allegiance to something, and so you have to pick. And he says, well, the treasures of earth, obviously they all are illusory. They're all temporary. And he gives examples of, back then, of course, rodents can get in and tear apart fabric. Thieves can break in and steal because you didn't have banks. Very, very just easy to understand.
Yeah, I've had experience with both of those.
Yeah. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Yes. And yeah, we just had our garage broken into for the second time. Come on. Ohio, what's going on with that? Anyway. And then you think he's talking about something else when he starts talking about the eyes. But this is a very ancient Near Eastern proverb about an evil eye and a good eye. An evil eye is a greedy eye, and a good eye is a generous eye. So you look upon the world and you see scarcity, or you look upon the world and see abundance. And out of that, then your life declares its allegiance. So if you're seeing scarcity, then obviously you're hoarding. If you're seeing abundance, then obviously you share. And then Jesus, of course, and he's making the same point here 3 different ways. So it's 2 treasurings, it's 2 kind of eyes, and then it's 2 masters. Right? He's saying the same thing 3 ways. And it's a very profound point. You literally cannot be devoted to money or to God. You have to pick. Because, and then this is the only place I'm aware of that Jesus names a rival that threatens discipleship and to him. And he calls it money, but in older translations it's capitalized and it's mammon, which is the Aramaic word for the god, the demonic power and principality that sits behind money and greed. So, for individualized, capitalistic consumers in 21st century America, it's so profound that it's easy to ignore, right? Well, of course I can have both. Right? Because I give a little to the church, I do some charity, I get my tax breaks, of course. And doesn't Jesus elsewhere say that you can use money for good? So of course. Now Jesus in Luke, Luke records Jesus talking about money in ways that are congruent with how Matthew records it, but a little punchier. So there's one line I want to look at. And this line I'm stealing here from people much smarter than me. All right? So, I don't think anyone thinks I have original thoughts, but if you do, just realize, no, I study really smart people.
That's actually the new name of the podcast, is just Unoriginal Thoughts.
Yes, by Jack Handy. But in Luke 14, here's the punchy line Jesus gives. All right? And it's at the end of a long section of discipleship. He says, in the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. Now, it turns out he's saying the same thing here as he's saying in Matthew, but he's saying it in a way that's much more intrusive to American Christians. Right? It's got a little edge to it.
Yeah. So
we want to do a little bit of work to understand what he's saying here, because it's so freaking profound. Because on the face of it, it's like, well, I happen to own the shirt I'm wearing in the house. I don't own it. I borrowed it. I'm paying off the house I live in and the car I'm driving. And then if having things is wrong, don't we cause the poor to stumble when we give them things? So am I a hypocrite just by even possessing what I possess? I mean, if you put my income in the global income calculator, I'm in the top percent of the world. So Jesus has to be talking to me here, but I've not given up everything, right? So we immediately start looking for loopholes. But what Jesus is doing here doesn't give loopholes, and it's so epic. So we got to do some Greek, all right? Yeah. And this is Greek where I'm obviously trusting and the scholarship of people much smarter than me. So I want to look at three phrases from this sentence. The sentence is, in the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. So I want to look at 3 phrases. The first word, give up. Then I want to look at the phrase, I guess the first phrase, give up, because that's a phrase, not a word, although it's one word in Greek. And then I want to look at the phrase, everything you have, and then look at the word cannot. All right? Because
give up everything you have, cannot.
Yes. Because what Jesus is doing here, it's so freaking awesome. Oh. All right. So to give up, shockingly, is the easiest of these words. It means to surrender, renounce, bid farewell, or send away. No wiggle room there. right? Farewell it all. Everything you have. Now, this is two words. One of the words is a short word that just means all in Greek. Another word is a compound word. Now, this is where, like, I'm going to butcher this, but it's huparko, I think is how I might say it. And it means to possess or own. So all that you possess is the idea. Now, this word huparko, I hate saying it because I know I'm butchering it. This word is actually made up of two words. All right? So we're like, this is a lot of charades going on here. Everything you have is two words. All possess. But this word for possess or own is actually two words. And this is where it gets interesting. These two words, one of the word, the hupo means under, and arko, and again, I'm mispronouncing it, means to begin. And so the idea is when you own something, you come under it to begin something. You come under or hold on to or support or bring about something new. All right? So when you own something, here's what he's getting at, and I love Jesus for this. What he's getting at is when you possess something, when you own it. Let's think about it in American terms. I walk into a jean store. All right, I don't buy jeans, but let's say this happens, and there's a wall full or a store full of inventory, and they're just jeans. But I go through the ritual of trying them on and finding my size. And then I engage in the ceremony of transaction, right? Where I turn over something of value to me in order to receive something of value from the store. And in that process, I create something new. Now, what's created isn't the jeans, right? The jeans have always been there.
Yeah.
But what's new is my relationship to the jeans. When I came in there, they were just jeans. I come out of there and they're mine. I now uphold them and come under them in a new relationship of me possessing them, of their being mine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh. Now this is so great. So the first word, give up. Yep, surrender. Everything you own. Okay, now here's where it gets interesting. Everything that you uphold as yours. Okay? So literally, though, when we possess something, it's not like we've brought something new into existence. God is creator of all things, right? But we bring in a new reality when we possess something, namely the fact that these jeans that were anybody's are now mine. I've engaged in the appropriate ceremony. I've transacted with the correct ritual. And now I have legal proof called a receipt that these are now mine. That new relationship that's created is what Jesus is talking about. Yeah. All right? All right, so I'm upholding that relationship. But do you understand how I'm upholding it? Right? When I go to my truck, it's my truck. I'm upholding it. I pay for its registration. I take care of it. I clean it. Why? Because it's mine. I don't do it for any other truck. I do it because this one is mine. So I'm upholding its identity as mine.
Yeah.
Makes sense so far?
Yes.
Oh. Now, Jesus uses this word and let me quote from my Greek friends, in the present active participle form. In other words, this isn't something you do once and then you own it. No. Right. You actually expend energy upholding the mineness of possessions.
Yeah.
All right? Oh. So as long as I think of something as mine, I'm coming up under it and upholding it as mine. Right? We think that when we buy something, I just buy something and I own it and it's done. That's not what Jesus is saying. No. There's an energy that has to be expended every time you mine something, right? You declare it to be mine. So it's possible that our possessions own us as much as we own our possessions. Now, I've experienced this in any number of ways. A dumb example was when I used to drive an old, beat up Ford Expedition. I mean, this thing had stains that I don't know where they came from. And we were at the stage of life where our kids were little, and so not that they're changed at all since then, actually, but they would make messes and dump juice boxes and spill whatever in the back, right? Yeah. It just didn't matter. I was in a parking lot and somebody dinged it, and I just didn't care. I did not care. Because it was a piece of junk, and I loved it, and it worked, and it was just fine, right? I just didn't care where I parked it. I didn't care if someone hit it. I just didn't care. Well, then I go out, and then I lease. I've never had a new truck before, so I lease a new truck. Well, first of all, leasing, I think, is a really dumb move. But I'm not Dave Ramsey, so don't quote me on that. But all of a sudden, I have a new truck. And all of a sudden, there's this, it's mine, and there's this energy that I now expend worrying about it. So I park differently. It costs more money to insure. When the kids make a mess, I get frustrated with them in ways I didn't get frustrated before. All of a sudden, literally, I was realizing there's a hidden cost to ownership, right? That was different than so I didn't, with my old truck, it was mine, but it didn't own me, right? Because I didn't care. Okay, whatever. But that new truck, that owned me because now I cared about it and I worried about it. Or we've gotten new furniture at times, over the course of 20 years of marriage. And it kind of sucks an energy out of you to be constantly patrolling the things that are mine.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does it both ways, right? It's not just a new thing, but even with the old car, is it just a matter of possession because even the old car, which is what I always have, require constant need that I have to be engaging with. You know what I mean? Is it
totally?
Is it just
totally?
So it's a relational. It's a relational.
It can be for anything. Absolutely. Yeah. What Jesus is saying, what he's addressing, isn't just the having of possessions, but it's the constant declaring over possessions that they are mine. Yeah. That is what prevents you from becoming a disciple. You cannot walk around in the world declaring things mine and think that you have energy left over to become a disciple. It's
a very American. I think this is really fascinating because and it opens up a whole different conversation about which we kind of teased with the capitalism conversation, because we live in a environment that is just built on this.
Yeah.
And so it's it is the way of life here, which just opens up really interesting because it's really I feel like the previous things like you mentioned. Lust and anger, those are ones that we can easily pinpoint. We've made a bigger deal out of those growing up, right? We know we shouldn't murder somebody.
Yeah,
and be angry.
That's fair.
And lust and adultery are really easy to pinpoint, and we've had multiple conversations about shame and things associated with that. So we're really good at pinpointing those and seeing them, and calling them out. But this is actually the way this is actually how we live.
This is our orientation to the world.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a really much more, I don't want to say complicated, but it's how how we've structured to live our lives is in this transactional existence.
Yeah. And you talk about, if you really want to get rolling on this, think about how we've turned Jesus following into that same transactional model.
Totally. Yes.
Right? I give up something of value. Jesus gives me something of value. and I have to figure out if it's worth the price, worth the cost.
Yes.
And so yes, we can go down that rabbit hole, but we're not done, Tim.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to sidetrack, but I think that's an interesting in the line of events of what we've been talking about.
It absolutely is, and again, I've been around. This isn't about whether or not you own stuff,
right? This
is about when you own stuff, you open yourself up to a power and a principality. There is a spiritual sucking out of life that comes if possessions begin to rule us. That's just true. And I've been around rich people who have loads of possessions and who are not owned by them. And I've been around poor people who have very little, who are owned by the little they have.
Totally.
Right? So that's why this is such brilliance of Jesus, because it'd be easy to hear something like this, right? And answer the way the disciples did. Well, we gave up everything. Are you kidding me? Yeah. We did it. We gave up everything.
Yeah.
We are following you. Come on. And you can be dirt poor, and now Jesus does say there's an advantage. There is an advantage. It's not better to be poor,
right? But
the rich are at a disadvantage because they can trust in their sufficiency or think they can. So that's why Jesus will say the rich are disadvantaged for sure. That just means they have to work harder against mining.
Yeah.
But think about how many human relationships have been broken over possessions, right? Even with my kids, I would yell at them differently if they spilled something in the new truck than if they did in the old truck.
Yep. I've had those arguments in the last 12 hours.
Yes. So it's what Jesus is getting at. Oh, and then we get to the word cannot. Now, the word cannot here, man, this is a tricky word because it too is made up of two different words.
Right.
And the one word just means not. But there's another word that's dunamai, which is a word that's translated dunamis, which is like power. Dunamai is to exercise power or have an ability. It's where we get, dunamis is where we get the word dynamite. And so, but here's the thing. Here's the way one scholar translates this verse, okay? In light of the little bit of Greek we just did. Unless you surrender the ongoing activity of making things mine, you lack the power to be my disciple. Because what the cannot there is talking about, you don't have the power. You do not have the power. This isn't a threat that Jesus is giving. This is just, he's describing a reality that mammon will suck you dry. The love of money will suck you dry, and you will not have anything left over to become a disciple of Jesus. You cannot go around mining the world and declaring it yours and be a follower of Jesus. Again, not a threat, just saying that's just the truth. It'd be like saying you cannot sleep around with every person you meet and consider yourself married. Right? It's just, that's not how it works.
Right.
Yeah. And so the word here is a strong and challenging word that goes way beyond. See, what we want to make it about is percentages given to church. And that's the church's fault. We're so lame, right? Hey, we need to keep our lights on. And that's true. And we talked about that. But there's a deeper level that goes after the American dream. And that's why one of the things that keeps getting reported in Acts about the early church is that no one held their possessions as their own, but shared. Oh, that's communism. Oh, that's socialism. No, that's biblical.
Yeah.
So, and that's why Jesus will attach one's salvation to how they treat the poor. Right? In Matthew 25. I mean, like there's this huge thread of this stuff that we just ignore, but we want to focus on homosexuality, or whether or not we can sing in public.
Yeah.
And so when you get back to Matthew, and Jesus names the rival power mammon, right? That's the power. It literally, we have a mystical connection with our stuff when we choose to make it mine. And so how do you practice not minding your stuff? What Jesus isn't saying is don't own stuff.
Yeah.
He's not saying that because he had some wealthy followers who did follow him, right? There's a woman listed who was the secretary of the treasurer for Herod's treasury. She was the wife of the secretary. Yes, I hope I said it that way. And she supported his ministry, right? Yeah. Joseph of Arimathea, here's a tomb. I mean, yes. The issue isn't whether or not you own stuff. The issue is how much your stuff owns you, because it will crowd out devotion, anything else. That's Jesus's point. You can only have a singular devotion. And if it's mining the world, making the world mine, then there is no room or power left.
Yeah.
To become a disciple of Jesus, whose understanding literally is that this I own nothing. I've given up my rights. I've renounced my entitlements. I sit on a cross, as Gambas has talked about. And now I look upon the world, and of course I have concerns for my family and for providing. And Paul even says, if you don't take care of your own family, you're worse than an unbeliever. In terms of like if you have charity and don't provide for those in your family, I mean, it's like a big deal. We're commended to work and to exercise and vocation to support. All of those things are true.
Yeah.
But you can do all of those things and still be defined by greed and attachment, or you can do those things and not be defined by greed and attachment. And so that's why regular generosity in secret is such a big deal. Mm-hmm. That's why how it is we go about buying things is a big deal. Like that ritual of buying, there's no ritual for me. I want it. Can I afford it? Yes. Done.
Yeah.
I never think of the opportunity cost, the spiritual opportunity cost of what that thing's going to cost me to own. I never think about that. It will cost me in worry. I worry about it. Something could happen to it. I worry in terms of having to spend extra money to care for it, put stress other places. I worry about what other people might do to it. It ruins relationships, right? It just adds. So there's this great movement afoot. It's called minimalism. That, and I think you're seeing this with like, who was the woman that was saying if it doesn't spark joy, get rid of it.
Yes.
Marie Kondo or something.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why that stuff is attractive is because I think we're all tired of living under the constant mining of the world.
Yeah.
And I got to worry about my portfolio and my retirement. I mean, and I'm guilty of all of this, Tim, literally. I mean, I'm speaking to no one but me. The log in my eye is huge on this.
Right. Yeah.
So, but it's just so much deeper than do you give money to the church?
No, it's so complicated. Like right now, I'm just thinking about like generational wealth and how that has set certain people up for success in life and has made it difficult for other
it's
people
crippled them.
to, yeah.
Or it's crippled them. Generational wealth is crippling.
So our pursuit of that in some ways has it's created that. That's a byproduct of the way we've been living.
Right.
But I also just like I when I've said it before, but the thing that has been striking me again through this entire series is how much, everything that Jesus addresses, he's turning it back towards this is something that has to do with how you are navigating everything. And it's not just like I check a box where I'm like, all right, anger's bad. All right, got it. I won't be angry again. Done that one. Lust is bad. All right, got it. Won't do that one again. But it's all just like, I'm going to deal with that every single day. All of these topics I will deal with every single day. So everything about this is something that I have to continually work at. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that he's showing how relational all of this stuff is. Yeah. And then when I think about this, especially this last year, and how unwilling we've been to let go of old ways of doing things, to embrace what could be, or to learn, or to grow, or to whatever, all I see is us not being willing, or I'll just say me, me being unwilling to engage in that constant relationship of changing my heart and growing and wrestling against, and like, does that make sense, or am I just rambling?
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense that the great
everything's presented as checkboxes. Everything
Correct.
is presented to us as checkboxes, and this, he's tearing down every single checkbox,
right,
and saying, nope, this is all about, it's not about just, so someone would hear this section of scripture taught on, and they'd go out and they'd sell all of their possessions and be like, I don't know what else to do, but I know that I have things that are worth something, so I'm getting rid of all of them. Right. But it doesn't change anything in them necessarily.
Yeah.
And I don't, like, I was thinking about Shane Claiborne this morning, because he's been having a polite back and forth with the Sean Feucht guy on Twitter. They are diabolically, they're just very diametrical, whatever. They're very oppositional thinkers on Jesus. But I don't know. It's just, I see how much this is a lifelong wrestling that you have to continually be checking. And that's why I like it. Because that, to me, seems like what Jesus is doing is actually transformational. Because I think transformation has a magical element in its, or we've made it a magical idea.
That's right.
In that transaction, when I give Jesus my thing, he gives me back something, and I am transformed. I've let Jesus into my heart, and I am transformed.
Yes.
And it's a magical thing. And it seems like this is Jesus like, nope, we're like, come on, come with me. This is going to be something that we're going to do every day, but it's going to be worth it.
Yes. Yes. So there and there has to be counter programming.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's why you can do. See, so I read the Bible and I pray, but I don't checkbox it anymore. I used to do it as checkboxes. Right now, I see it as counter programming.
Right.
I'm fighting the formation of my soul because by culture. And so I don't care whether or not I've read the Bible for 5 days in a row or not, or whether or not I've had my quiet time or whatever. To me, this is about, it's much deeper than that, right? It's about counter programming so that I begin to see the world through, because I mean, I want to see the world through a good eye. I want to actually see the world through abundance and not scarcity. And I want to see God that way. For me, I've always seen God as very chintzy, very unwilling to bless.
Yeah.
And that's not the picture presented in the scriptures. And so that if I see God that way, then I can give up mining much more easily.
Right.
When I see God and I see the world, and COVID's exposed this.
Yeah.
When I see scarcity in the world, I want to hoard. Mm-hmm. Be it toilet paper or, I don't know, whatever. I have a secret on that too that's made us survive. We never ran out of TP, but.
Hello, Tushy.
That's funny. Nope. That's our other friend who is a rabid bidet evangelist. No, someday I'll tell that secret. But no, Tim, you're getting at the heart of what it means to be a disciple and not a consumer.
Yeah.
The consumer just does the transaction and walks away with the receipt. The disciple goes, holy crap. The project of the renovation of my ruined soul is ongoing, never-ending, relentlessly needed, and that ironically is what gives me so much hope that it's real.
This seems way more real than the version that I grew up with.
Yeah.
I see this. Yeah. This makes sense, and I see the merit to it instead of a list of things of what not to do.
Yeah.
Which I think this usually gets presented as like, okay, listen, you guys, Jesus is going to give you a top 10 list of what not to do. Just stick to those. You know, Moses gave us the first round. This is the second round. Like,
Right.
But I would think if I was a pastor, I would really want people. This is what I think. This is where my mind would be, and maybe this is why I'm not a pastor. That you would want your congregation to hold a lot of things loose enough, things that they inherited or grew up with, hold them loose enough to be able to really look at it and listen to things and struggle with what it is that Jesus really wanted from you, or was what he was trying to give you or teach you or talk to you or share with you. And then when I think about this year, I think this was the year to hold everything loose. Yeah. And in regards to like our practices and our routines and the way that we navigate things. And when I think about trying to have a conversation about this Sean Feucht guy and this worship outside, I want people I would like them to listen to what we were talking about at the beginning of this and hold it loosely to really look at it and see, is this how Jesus would do this? Is this how he would handle this or look at this? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I want people to be able to make room for Jesus to actually do what he intends to do and wants to do with us. I feel like we hold everything so tightly where we can't hear it.
Yeah. Nope, that's so true. It's a great way to end, buddy. Good stuff, man. Thank you. No, really, really, really. And I wish I could describe the shirt you're wearing for people, because it is something, man. Usually Tim wears dark, black.
It's 2021, baby.
Faded T-shirts. He's got some pink tie-dye thing on, and it's totally throwing me. Throwing me.
Anybody who knew me in high school, and this came up on New Year's Eve with family talking about, we were playing a game and they asked about first impressions, and everyone had, my card was, what was your first impression of me? Which is always a terrible conversation. Because I had some phases in life that...
Man, we've all had phases.
That this is very tame for.
Oh, nice. Oh, I want pictures. I want pictures. All right, friends. Well, listen, we're deeply grateful that we get to process this stuff with you. Yeah. And I know I say it, but my goodness, what an honor to be a small part of your week, however your week's going. If you're interested, you can help us by liking and sharing and subscribing. Those things, I know it's so lame and I hate saying them, but those things really do matter in the world of podcasts and algorithms. And so
it's really easy if you don't know what that is. It's just like whatever you listen to this on, if it's on iTunes, you just where you listen to it, you click the stars, 5 of them, no matter what you think of the podcast, you click 5
only
stars.
Review if you're going to do 5. Otherwise, you can review the Vox Media podcast. Review that.
Go to Vox Media if you want to do 1 star, and go to ours if you want to do 5.
Yes, and ours will have a new name.
That's right.
It's coming, and it's funny. It's just not. Yeah. Our friend Brenda.
I just had 12 things go through my brain of like subliminal inside jokes that would point towards it, and I just heard Brenda being like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. We're under strict orders to not share it yet, because I mean it's a whole branding thing, guys. We have a color palette. We're working on a logo for this. Maybe we'll have a website that's fitting for 2021.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Baby.
So anyway, enough of our nonsense. Hope your new year is great so far. Let's cross our fingers.
Today's only the second for us.
It is, but hey, what a way to start, man. What a way to start. Buckeyes. Speaking of God's favor resting over a region or a people. No. Anyway, thank you, friends. We deeply appreciate you, and we'll see you next episode. All right, take care of yourselves.
thank you for listening to this conversation. The Vox Podcast is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is supported by listeners like yourself. If you'd like to partner with us, you can do so at patreon.com/Vox Podcast. You can also engage with the hosts on social media at facebook.com/Vox Podcast, on Instagram at Vox Podcast, and on Twitter at Mike Erie. Thank you for walking this road with us.